Hi everybody. I know you'll be on in a minute. I I don't want to look at myself this morning, so I'm showing you my window, and that's the that's what it looks like outside my window if I moved the painting that you see that is dark right now. It would be if you it would be my but anyway, that looks outside my bedroom window. And next 2 weeks, this room's going to be completely redone. And yeah, I am looking forward to showing it to you all. So that, I think it shows up on Facebook Live, but that's outside my window, and behind the painting on the left is the mountain. And then if I hit here, you can now see the paintings more strongly. And these are paintings that are from Damanhur. Two of them painted by Falco, and two of them channeled. The one on the left is a portal. It's called a mirror portal. The one on the right, the key, figure it out. The key is channeled. A channeled painting Georgia gave me, the one she got, and it's connected to the temple. And then the upper right is seed ships that go across the world looking for planets that can evolve and seed them. And then I was given the spiral one at the Mimsy Project for, well, just as a gift, beautiful gift, when we completed the Mimsy Project. So I want to start this call with a warning. When December 31st, I knew when December 31st happened, I knew that creation had been calling me for a long time. And frankly, generally speaking, please don't take this personally, I have a hard time with humanity in one area. I don't have a hard time with humanity in their growth and their evolution and their adorableness and their funkiness. And this is personal to me. And just something that I have a relationship with that is so powerful and so beautiful and so real, that I've known for a while, that my guidance revealed to me that when I was 74, and I'm halfway through 74 now, I think, that I would fold into the fabric of creation and find myself moving away from human beings. And it's a hard conversation to have because human beings aren't a problem for me. Otherwise I wouldn't be human. I wouldn't have come in as human. But it just blows my mind. I can never, and this isn't about human beings have a choice. I can never get over the distance, the separation between human beings and creation. I can never get over it. I almost lost my mind. So I understand the problem. When I was a child, I almost lost my mind. My mind separated into multiple what's the word I want? Multiple territories of perception. Because I couldn't separate from what was real for me. And yet there was a part of my human psyche that tried to survive, not because I was horrible or because I was a sinner or because I was something else, dumb. But I want you to know, when I was a little girl and I was 2 and 3 years old, I did actually make skirts out of these white flowers for fairies. Though my fingers still feel fitting those little flower skirts around these teeny little creatures. I literally remember figuring out a seed pod that would make a hat for the boy fairies. It's still in my visceral memory. It's still completely as real as the desk in front of me and the pictures you see on the wall. So I went through a period of separation up until I was around 16 years old, because I lived in 2 worlds. Literally, I lived in 2 worlds. I lived in this weird dead world where I had to consciously learn how to respond to people. And for God's sake, or Goddess' sake, in case Facebook deletes me, there are things I mustn't say. I remember sitting in front of a mirror with my black hair stacked up tall on my head, with these beautiful silver plated gigantic brushes and combs, and in this bodice. I remembered it. My mind never closed. I remembered being a puffy white thing on this puffy white, I assume, place. I remember vague other things. I remembered, or the things that fought me, the things that my mind fought, were things about being a larger kind of a being. My mind didn't fight the memories like those 2 I said, or the fairies in the garden and then Tomsey. And amazingly enough, the young man taking care of my garden, building the landscape out back for me, his name is Tomlin. And Tomsey was the bigger garden. I assume he was Fae now. He was bigger. He was like the size of from my elbow to my palm. The others were like the size of a little bit longer than my finger. But I remember, this is not make-believe for me. And then I schismed, and I remember it. I remember looking down, watching me fill in a test in school. I remember doing this. I remember watching myself walk around and helping myself learn how to make the right responses to my mother. And this is before she ever hit me. I remember all this. When I had my playroom in East Ravine, which was my heaven, because all the kids played, and I knew for them it was mostly make-believe, but they knew for me it was real. And they just completely played along so that I could have what was real for me, that wouldn't be taken away from me. And my boyfriend, he was 4 and I was 5. And then I was 5 and I was 6 and he was 5. Lance, I knew how much he loved cookies. So I would go in with his mother and she'd bake cookies. She's from someplace like Romania. And she would tell him stories. She would support me and tell me stories about the fairies that lived out in their backyard, and how in Romania, I assume it was someplace like that, that they thought nothing about it. Like in Ireland, the old Irish, they think nothing about the actual reality of we're part of other greater worlds. And I have seen for sure that every now and then when human beings tap their relationships, their connection to other worlds, they are ecstatic. There is an intimacy of being one with all life that floods them like a giddy Guinness drunk. I've seen their passion for being alive roar to the surface. I call it, in the work I do, the animate world. So there's this being. I'm going to do the realms of the beloved. I'm just going to tell his story for an hour to honor him. Because I don't know, I think there might be a couple of other people who are excited that he's back. But I'm ecstatic. The intimacy that we experienced in the years he was with us is shocking. And what we knew about him, I used to be a trans channel, and that was part of the intimacy of my direct link with creation, not some stupid medium channeling some kind of information to humanity. But there was an intimacy in being part of those higher frequency beings. There was something I didn't have to be weighed down by. I didn't have to look like a stick figure walking around being proper. I could dance naked in the street with them if I wanted to. And he was the only one that was once a person. And all I knew about him all that time ago, almost 30 years ago, was that he was a financier in France, supported the king, and that's all I knew. And he died of one of those diseases we can't say on the air. And that he was lecherous. and that and when I say blunt, he's blunt. And that is not even close to how blunt he is. That's an understatement. Because he just sees clearly from a place that I have learned to see clearly. And sometimes I really upset people because I'm talking from a different kind of reality. A reality where everything is in unity with everything else. Everything's part of everything else. And everything beautifully has its own place. And then we learn how to figure out, we, not meaning you and I, but we creatures that are part of realities of unity. We just learn each other's ways, and we learn each other's, how each other communicates, and how, what's behind the power or the beauty or the majesty or the magic or the world behind what they're communicating. It's exciting, it's fun. It's why I can have bears come be with me, because they know I'll be paying attention to their ways, to their forms of communication, and not like this, I don't understand it, not like this, I don't know this other thing. I don't even know how to put it in words, how to be with a bear so it doesn't kill you. I don't even know that. And my heart has been hurt so many times. And Brian Christopher, he was my mentor, and he gave me the law, laid the law down, and the law was too bad. Open it wider. Just open it wider. So I have. And then I've been doing all this work, as others, as all of us have. Because, damn it, I needed to help the species get back its registers for being part of the greater kingdoms of creation. I just needed to give them a chance. And my timeline was to December 31st, 2020. That was the timeline I had to do my best, to see if I could rebuild matrices that had collapsed, where human beings and all life lived in unity with each other, lives in unity with each other, because it's still there, because I live it. It's got to still be there. Just like saying a car is still there because I see it, and someone who never saw a car would say you're full of it. But I see it. I'm with it. I'm directly related to it. But then December 31st, 2020 happened, and I don't know how to put this in words, but like the miraculous is that I moved to New Mexico, because here I can just fold into the mother with no problem. And I have worried. I have been concerned that I the more close I got to being back in the realities of everything has a place, everything's part of everything else. But it's all intimate, it's ecstatic, it's passionate. It's thrilling. It's so alive. I've lost my social indoctrination, and I was concerned I would, because I'm quite the creature of perception. I don't understand a lot of what human beings say. I don't know why they say it. I've never understood. I never understood why. I mean, I've always been offended that the human mind was so impacted by something they lost their sense of beauty and wonder and grace and awesomeness, and it just breaks my heart. But I've only got a short time here now. I'm 74. And I want to fold back into the intimacy, ecstasy, passion, and peace that comes from the realms of the beloved, of which we all are a part. But I literally went crazy to keep from being separated from when I was young. Literally went crazy. And I had this great mentor, Brian Christopher, who you can still find, Light Institute on the web, and Dr. White, a psychiatrist who refused to give me drugs and who let me know I wasn't crazy, that I just saw more and was present to more than most human beings. And he had to help me learn how to be sane in the midst of human beings that just didn't have these relationships. And over the last few days, I mean, not the last 2 weeks, I've been doing prophetics. And when I'm doing prophetics, there's no shielding. There's no veneer. There's no, what do you call that thing? Facade that I can wear. I gotta be right there, letting creation move through me and transmit to the other person. So two things happened. That hurt. Well, something happened before then that hurt, but later on I figured out that I just don't normally hurt. I don't know how to explain that. I just don't normally hurt. I'm rarely personally offended. And if I am offended, it's because someone's breached the code of being in unity with life to the point, in unity with themselves, others' life, to the point that I'm offended by that. I'm not really offended by the person. I'm offended by the breach. So I should have figured it out, because I don't know if it's been a month now or 2 months, but I spoke in the way I probably would speak all the time if I was in this culture of creation. I could be myself. We all have learned how to not be ourselves. So it's fine with me because I spend a lot of time alone, and I have the whole universe. I have the wind, I have the sun, I have the lizards, I have the dog I once had and who I still have because she refused to let her physical absence cost me our relationship. Imagine how beautiful living like that could be. But I'll talk more about Tobias and Realms of the Beloved, because I want to talk it in such a way that I capture him totally and just really honor him for the difference he made in my life and others' lives over 30 years ago. Financially, economically, emotionally, gave people the strength, stamina, capacity to, like Russ and Deb, to be extremely poor and lose everything, but to stay faithful. And things I could construct in the economy of relationship between others and lives, skinny branches, things like that. That came from him. And so when he showed back up on the scene, he told me who he'd been in a past life. Who he'd been before he died. So I don't know if you can even comprehend what it's like to have in this reality, in this physical world. It really points to the dimensions are opening up again. That he could bridge the gap between who he was as a physical being and who he is now as our personal angel. Just like Lily could bridge the gap. That means all the work that everybody's been doing, that's been doing it to rematrix the planet back, humanity back into its direct relationship with all creation, that those matrices are restored. But what good are they if human beings only want to be related to human beings? What good are those matrices being restored if human beings don't have the registers for the intimacy, ecstasy, and passion of being alive in this extraordinary paradise we were born into? So Tobias was really excited, and he has a different contour of intelligence and intellect and perception and interaction than me, although I noticed I was adopting some of his ways and should have figured out he was back long before I did, because he's to the point. But he was excited, so after Realms of the Beloved, we scheduled a meeting for him to talk to the people that he talked to before and that he'd been intimate with before, and sorry, I don't know how to say this. We got a message that our meeting was interfering with another meeting, so he canceled it. It's just that simple for him. No offense, no nothing. He's very black and white. Okay, another meeting fills that time in human time. Okay, let's just cancel. But it almost broke my heart. Because when you're intimate, when you're passionate, when you're in ecstasy, you fight like crazy to keep it. You let everybody know how much you love them and how much they matter to you. Everything know how real it is for you and how much it matters. That it exists. That's the magic of human being. When a human being's in its right relationship, when it's back to itself, life so matters. Not survival, not what other human beings think about us, but that there's a tree outside my window. And there's a sky outside my window. And there's the trails that human beings called chemtrails of a miracle of an airplane that was created between human beings and the forces of creation. That's ecstasy. Wanting the tree there. Craving the sky. Longing for the depths of profundity that we can have together. That's passion. And Tobias, if you'd been around all those years, he went through his own evolution to be with us because he loved us. And he still does. He's a dead person in case nobody figured that out. And then the other thing that happened, and he's fine. If there's a meeting and where he wanted to meet, he's fine. He still loves everybody totally. He still loved being with us, and he don't care. And then I heard this, broke my heart, that Joe Biden isn't going to take the train to the inauguration for security reasons. And why did it break my heart? Because that's his love. Being with I don't care what you think of him, but in those moments, him riding that train, he's happy. He's with people he loves, riding with. He loves taking the train to Washington, D.C. And something cost him his love of life in that action. And something costs human beings their love of life too. So I'm very, very emotional this morning because something's happened to the emotional palate of human beings. Something has cost them in their emotional palate, their love of life, their I have a phrase called "I could just lick you" because I can't think of. I wrote a poem once when I was 10 that I got really chided for. It said, "Why can't I get all over you and you get all over me? How happy we would be." And my system is returning to where it's searching. It's, how do I say it? It's a systemic matter. It's not even my personality. Systemically, the need for my system to go where there's no separation from life, where there's this gobsmack adoration of life, and life's adoration of us lives. And it was really present in the prophetics, because I'd go to say something I was so excited about, like in one prophetic, I went, "Oh my God, you have choice." And I could hear how it was heard. It was heard like, oh, I haven't had choice. Wrong world, wrong paradigm, wrong reality. No, it was like suddenly, and where reality, the reality of unity is bleeding through the reality of separation, there was freedom to play, freedom to choose, freedom to have a good day. And that freedom will get stronger and stronger, and I know that, but it doesn't need me. I did the work that I was supposed to do. And when I used to work in Ireland, and I left Ireland for 7 years because I knew to, because they were in a transitional time, and I didn't want to be around for it. And then obviously I went back when their traditional time was over, and they'd not been obliterated by money, and they were still their crazy selves. It was fun to go back and see that they hadn't, they'd met the influx of money and survived it, and are still surviving it. They didn't give in to its lure, its deadly lure of survival and things. But that's what it feels like now. It feels like I need to go away for this transitional period. I need to. I'm in the perfect place, in the perfect home, in the perfect environment. And I just basically don't know what to do. And then I was just so pissed that all this came down a half an hour before Facebook Live, because, geez Louise, I insist on authenticity. I insist on transparency in the work I do. I'm not saying I do that socially, because it's just, you can get your head cut off trying to do that. And don't scare humans, they'll kill you. And the problem is that the most authentic and real part of human beings hasn't been given a place to live here. And slowly but surely, there are human beings taking it back. Not against what is going on here, but just stepping out of its way and building their own kingdoms. And I know those people. They're people that I know intimately. And I'm thrilled. But what's the bugaboo for me? That humans only see humans. I mean, you have no idea the miracle of Tobias being back. And nobody holds it to be miraculous. It somehow doesn't get through into the emotional palate. And even when Lily was taking me through hell to get to heaven, where the door between us is just no longer closed, just because she doesn't have a body, there was no massive celebration in the streets. That death no longer had the hold on us that it once had. It was just Tantra's personal experience. And I don't know when human beings are going to be part of the greater kingdoms again. I don't know when their registers will come back, but when the prophetics, it was very clear they are coming back. And I'd like to be there for that. I have to show you something. See if you can see it. If you can see there's a wing. Looks like an angel's wing. You can't see it as much as an angel's wing where I'm from this position, but from where you are, but sorry. But I mean, can that get in the door? Can that just blow your mind? How often do you let your mind be blown? What do you have to do to sustain and maintain yourself? Because you're present to things that others aren't present to, and they just make you so happy. And there's no place to share it in the equivocation within which it's felt. I have no place to go with this. I'm not trying to make a point or teach. I promised Jackie Murray that I would get on Facebook at 7 or 8 a.m. every Friday, and I keep my word. I keep my word. Why? Because I love her. And because that's what she wanted me to do. And of course I would do it because I love her. That's where I'm people-centric. So I want to read you a poem. It's actually the words of a song. It's one of my favorite songs. It's Who Do You Think I Am by Shanae Lowen. It's from the album Who Do You Think I Am. It's just so profound. It's so the way I experience reality from outside the reality I was born into. I just never could make it into just being an observer because I love human beings. I love what they're designed to be. I wanted to be one so I could have a sensory system that could take in the intimacy, ecstasy, passion, and peace of creation. And I just feel like that's all I want to do now, and it's such a pull. It is such a pull. It's not in my mental mind trying to figure out what to do. It's deeper. It's down in the intimacy, the ecstasy, the passion and peace of me. That intimacy, ecstasy, passion, and peace wants its place. It wants its home. So I'll tell my story about Tobias on Sunday, and he and I will we'll get to play with him again, which is just heaven. And we'll fight, because he doesn't understand. He doesn't have any, what do you call it, give room, because things can go in a straight line, and they can. We watched as he interacted with us, and we got on that straight line. We went from point A to point Z perfectly, with him not letting us get off course. And that's why I'm happy to have him back again. Because he'll now that the unity between heaven and earth and the greater dimensions of reality and human beings is back, that's the only place I want to play. I want to play there. Human beings will work it out. They always do. They're an evolving species. They're beautiful. And they love to play with each other. And that's good. I probably just wasn't human first. Probably was some kind of consciousness that chose to embody, not found itself awake in a body. Something like that. But I want to read you this poem. For those of you that like depth and intimacy and ecstasy and passion and love to have the ability to be where life and death meet, and in that intimacy of things going in and out of existence, in that intimacy of things constructing and deconstructing, in that intimacy of things collapsing and expanding, and that intimacy of things closing down and things opening up. If you like to be in that meta point of life, this is a great album. I am not on top of a mountain, and I am not under the ground. I am not spilling over the edges, and I am not easily found. I am not in shelter from the winter when your head is buried in the sand. Why do secret cellars explain things I already understand? And who do you think I am? Yes, who do you say I am? Once when I was flying past the steeple, the bells were ringing in my ears, and I was counting the broken-hearted people, and I was following their tears. I am not sinking in the sadness. I am not throwing bitter stones. I do not worry who will mind me. I am not dancing alone. But you, who do you think I am? Yes, who do you think I am? Is it winter where you are? Try to find me if you can. When it's over, it's never over. And when it's empty, it's never gone. When I am in silence, gone from danger. Far away is the forgotten one. I am headed for that distant lighthouse. I am twisting towards the sun. I wrap around me all your goodness. If I go that way, am I the only one?